Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first intro beginner episode for the Acquire 101 podcast. My name is Brandon Jones. I'm the founder of Gravy. Acquire 101 is our first offering focused on really empowering and educating people around the opportunities to build generational wealth through entrepreneurship, through acquisition. I have beside me here Mr. Brian Shields, who I've partnered with as both instructor for our Acquire 101 course, which is really targeting busy professionals who are really interested in exploring and understanding the opportunities of entrepreneurship through acquisition, but they're busy and they really want to get serious about understanding it more deeply and kickstarting that journey. Brian himself has acquired a company, successfully exited a company. I'm just giving him the headline. I'll toss it over to him, let him introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brian.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks a ton for the intro and this opportunity. I'm super, super excited about it. As Brandon mentioned, my name is Brian Shields. I started my career out on Wall Street doing private equity, buying and selling companies. And since then, I've gone on a journey that has led me to buy a company myself. But for the period between 2019 and 2022, I was running a company that was based in the Bay Area. We had 25 employees. We grew to 32. We were in all over the California state. We had 3,000 doors under management for a property management business and had to turn it around during COVID, hire all new staff and figure out the best way to run the business in the most efficient way. And that business, that acquisition came after several years of searching. And so what I'm excited to do in this platform is talk a little bit about what that process looks like, demystify the day-to-day search process and help set expectations for you so that you can build the confidence to start looking and believe that you can not only find a company, but close the acquisition and be successful running it so that you can hopefully do what I did, which was triple the value of the business when you sell it and create generational wealth for you and your family. So, Brandon, I'll hand it back to you, but I'm really excited about this opportunity to have these discussions.
Yeah, so what we're kind of setting you up here for is what we're excited about bringing is a mini series, 8-episode series. That's the target. We might go over. We'll see where things go, but we'll be basically highlighting a number of folks across the entrepreneurship through acquisition ecosystem. We'll be featuring OGs who have built billion-dollar holding companies over decades of work. They are at this point you can consider to be at the top of the game. We have up and comers who've acquired multi-million dollar, tens of millions of dollars of companies that they've recently acquired, being just a few years out of getting their MBA. We'll touch bases with some other players in the ecosystems who are investing in entrepreneurs through acquisition. The idea is to really just provide a nice level of surface area for people to understand where they fit into the overall picture. We'll be looking at folks that did the self-funded journey, other folks that followed the traditional search fund path by raising money from investors, and kind of everything in between. I'll be coming in with the lens of, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself in a second, the lens of someone who's really looking to build generational wealth, particularly for diverse communities who have largely up to this point, not participated in this game enough. And we see an opportunity, and a lot of the folks that we're partnering with in the ecosystem see an opportunity for us to get in the game more. And I'll be looking at it from that angle. Brian, as someone who's kind of been through the process and is very much steeped in the details of the acquisition process, he'll be chiming in and really kind of getting into the deal specifics, the mechanics of how they structured, and a little bit more around just the trade-offs they had to make as a owner and operator of these businesses. So a little bit about me, and then I'll turn it back over to Brian and kind of leave us with some parting thoughts. But Brandon Jones, born and raised in Chicago, went to Howard University, later went to Harvard Business School, stopped through Wall Street. And Brian is humble. He also has a pretty legitimate resume that was more traditional before he hopped into the entrepreneurship, the acquisition game. Myself, after spending time on Wall Street, I moved out into Silicon Valley, spent about 7 years at Google in a number of different leadership roles across Google Cloud, the AR VR team, Google Commerce, and then went to lead LinkedIn's sales development organization for North America, and then made a final stop at ServiceNow, where I was global head of sales development. I got really excited about just helping folks, particularly in my network, who were focused on their craft, really good at what they did, but they were kind of detached from this real, the strong goal, their strong why of building generational wealth. And for many folks, they're kind of operating in a silo. If they're high earners, a lot of complexities from taxes to how do I invest? How do I figure out the time? It's just way too much way too much to learn for anyone to kind of figure it out on their own. So I built Gravy, which is essentially a community, an investment syndicate, and an education platform to help folks collaborate along this process of building generational wealth. And the second half of my career is going to be focused on helping folks, shepherding folks to this true north together. And I'm excited to partner with Brian around Acquire 101, which we launched a pilot course, which is highly rated, well received. And now we're kind of taking this thing to the next level, starting with this podcast. So that is my why. I want to turn it over to Brian. Why are you spending time doing this? You could be out there making money. Tell us a little bit more about why you're in this game.
Yeah, I think kind of as a kindred spirit, Brandon, I believe in seeing people who look like us have opportunities for wealth creation, right? And ownership is that tool, right? America was built on ownerships. It was built on the backs of ownership. And I think that we as a people and as a diverse people in this country need to look at this as a career path more closely. So it's a labor of love as much as it is something that can be really exciting for me to pursue and potentially see new investments through. And, I think one of the things you said in your background is like, and describing mine is like, there's a traditional background, right? And for myself, right, like I grew up in effectively a single parent household. Neither of my parents really went to college. I was the first to do those things. And so my job was just to go get a good job, right? And I know a lot of people who listen to this and are part of the Gravy community have amazing jobs and careers, right? You have people who are lawyers, who are executives, who are in some cases C-suite or on the way to it, right? And this as a path can feel non-traditional because you step away from what feels secure. You have a paycheck, you got benefits, you got somebody to think about setting up the computer. You're not IT. And then you step into the role where the buck truly does stop with you. And that can feel crazy. But what I'm hoping to do through this conversation and with these discussions with all of these amazing people that you talked about is demystify and make it feel like this is a traditional path that people can and do take. We are not alone in the people who look like us doing this. We are not alone in the people who look like us investing in this space. And we're not alone in the people who look like us that create an ecosystem around this kind of environment and industry so that we can be successful, right? And that's, I think, the thing that has not been put to the forefront, that has not been considered a good job in a lot of our households. And now we have the opportunity to facilitate that conversation and show people the path. And that's why I'm here, right? Because I've done it. I went on the lone road by myself. And again, like it was a function of a collection of my experiences. I've bought a ton of companies, I think north of $4 billion at a private equity firm worth of companies. I've done a ton of bolt-on acquisitions. I've run divisions within private equity backed companies. I've run growth at 2 different venture-backed companies, that one of which went on to be public, the other which hopefully will go public soon. So I have all this experience, but like I will tell you, having lived this, when you step off the ledge to do your thing, it can feel like there's nothing there. You have to do it on faith. And what I think myself and Brandon are here to try to do is show you there's actually a ledge that you can take that first step onto. And if we can help put some wind at your back to help you go faster, all the better. Because I don't want to be one of the onlys to do this. I want to be one of the first. And then ultimately there are hundreds of us that have done this and who control economic opportunities for ourselves, who create jobs for people in this country, and who have the ability to train their family to within the organization. So you don't have to go work at a Goldman Sachs or a Barclays or a McKinsey or a General Mills to go get the experience. You can work in the family business or somebody else's family business, get those skills and continue the legacy. So I think about this as a first step on a journey on the golden road. And frankly, like we're just in the early innings, and I'm really excited to see this come to fruition. So again, I want to say thanks to you, Brandon, for putting this together. This has been a really fun journey so far, and I'm just really, really stoked about the people we have in queue to bring these conversations to bear and what that will hopefully inspire people to do going forward.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. I'll just kind of go off on a few stats around the timeliness of this opportunity. I love Brian's language around normalizing this path. That is really what this podcast and what Acquire 101 as an ecosystem platform is looking to do. The first is Stanford, which historically publishes the most data around entrepreneurs through acquisition, traditionally, typically pursuing the search fund path. On average, those entrepreneurs are building $2 million in equity value per year, right? So when you think about generational wealth, and you think about the folks that are in this audience, the folks that are in the Gravy community, and a lot of the organizations that will be bringing people to this podcast, you are hard workers, you are grinders. So the big question is, as you grind, the benefits of that type of equity value being built annually is meaningful from a generational wealth perspective. That's number one. I think the other piece of it is oftentimes, particularly today, there's a strong desire for people to be authentic, have a little bit more control around their destiny. That, of course, is a part of this path as well. Again, nothing is easy, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with folks that put themselves in this position. But having an autonomy to really, really be able to deliver results and capture the value that you create is something that is a strong plus in the column of entrepreneurship through acquisition. From a timing perspective, an estimated 12 million businesses will be changing hands over the next 10 to 15 years as baby boomers approach retirement. So if you just kind of think about that for a second, a lot of these baby boomers, in many cases, our parents, are going to have to fund retirement. Even if it's a business they love, they'll need to pass it down. And if their kids are not looking to take on that company because they want to be a TikTok influencer or something a little bit sexier, that's going to create a ton of opportunity for folks like this audience, who are really serious about stepping into a company that's already profitable, can pay them, generally well coming out of the gate without a lot of the risk. And it's funny, Brian and I actually met in Silicon Valley. And obviously there's pros and cons to every entrepreneurial path, but you can make the argument that ETA from a risk-adjusted perspective definitely needs a closer look. And the number of businesses that are going to hit over the next 5-10 years creates a premium window for folks like this audience to really kind of get up to speed on what it's going to take. The last thing I'll say is just speaking from personal experience, the Gravy community is about 2,000 folks right now. On average, folks are 80% have graduate degrees, 90% are the top 10% of U.S. income earners. We're talking about a really successful bunch to date. And when we survey our community through our Gravy annual survey, entrepreneurship through acquisition or acquiring a business was by far the number one area of interest for people to want to explore more. And that was the genesis of Acquire 101. That is the genesis of this podcast. So with that, really happy to have you all join us on this podcast journey. This podcast will be a part of a broader ecosystem of resources under the Acquire 101 brand. It'll include in-person networking events, digital community forums, preferred access to the Acquire 101 live sprint course taught by Brian here, subscription to a newsletter as well. So there'll be plenty of things. You can check out acquire101.com or at Acquire 101 on any social media handle. So with that, really excited to bring you all into the Acquire 101 ecosystem. Brian, any closing thoughts?
Listen, if you are considering how to take control of your own career path, if you are interested in maximizing and truly delivering the value you think you're worth, and if you're looking for a really fun challenge, I encourage you to consider this journey and let this podcast be the window into this opportunity that helps you see that you can do it too. So I'm really excited to talk to y'all and talk to these great folks, and we hope to have you following us soon.
All right. Excited to get kicked off with this podcast series. We'll see you all soon with episode 1. Take care.